Hello and welcome to episode 2 of our Djinni Fire Elementalist run. If you haven't watched the first one, I'd recommend going and doing that and coming back to this one so you can see how the run's been going up to this point. Let's do a quick recap before we get started. We began our run last episode, we went through all the dungeon floors up to 12, did layer, and then we did orc. We're worshipping Hep, which means we have a permanent ancestor ally that we can swap around using transference. We can heal and buff them using idealize. Our primary kill dude strategy is using Scorch, which deals decent fire damage to a random single target and a small radius around us and causes them to lose fire resistance. We're supplementing that with Summon Lightning Spire, Raise Dead to create an army of zombies, and we have Flame Wave and Starburst for AoE spells when things get out of control. We also have Mercury Vapors, Inner Flame, Volatile Blast Motes, and Silence, which are all a bit more situational. Here's a look at our skills at the moment. We're trying to train spellcasting right now to get our newly learned Starburst spell down to 1% failure chance. After that point, we'll probably switch back to training armor, dodging shields, invocations, and evocations, all to 10. After that point, we'll likely train some more fighting until we get a higher level spell that we want to cast, which will probably require some more spellcasting training. Alright, with all that being said, let's get back into the run.
I'm going to fast forward through Dungeon 13 because nothing much of interest really happens here. Find a boulder beetle. It's not really that big of a problem for us at this point. We can use mercury vapors to easily poison it down. Get ourselves a boulder beetle zombie. And then we're going to head through the rest of the floor, auto-exploring. What do you know? Another boulder beetle. And we found a second scroll of blinking, so we're double invincible now. Howler monkeys, ugly things, not a big problem. It's at this point that we go back to training our defensive and miscellaneous skills. Now that we got Starburst pretty castable. We ID some potions, cancellation and brilliance. We see some slime creatures. This one's been grouped up, and we try to use our lightning rod here, but we realize that's not working. So we quickly run away and hope that we can find the slime creatures unformed, and we do. So we use Starburst to burst these guys down, and we use Starburst to finish off those slime creatures, and that's a pattern. And so we see these laughing skulls, and we're not scared because now we have 2 pips of negative energy resistance, so we kill them pretty easily. And so we see these 3 slime boys, and we just starburst them down.
And with that, we're on to the next floor, floor 14. We see our arch nemesis, the Cyclops here. He's not going to thunk us with the rock this time. We see a couple of ugly things, so we cast our summons and we cower behind the tower as we scorch spam. We get a level up here. We feel more clever. That means we got some int, which is always a good thing to see. We love int as a caster. Alright, we find a scroll of identify. We identify fog, and it looks like we found the entrance to the vaults here. We just got to kill this Bogart and the rest of these things here. And yep, confirmed. This is the entrance to vaults, and we can tell because of the Ironbound Frostheart. That was kind of scary because the Frostheart could have really done some damage to us with the cold damage. We're still vulnerable. Centaur Warrior's not going to pose that big of a problem for us. Boulder Beetle just takes a little bit of poisoning and some scorching, and he's done for. Okay, yeah, we open the door into a bunch of centaurs. One shoots an arrow at us, but we block it with our shield. And we're just going to lead them around the corner and lead them into this little trap that we set up with our spire and our ancestor. And that seems to be enough to have done the job there. We run into a group of 3 Tengu, and 3 Tengu can be pretty nasty, so we're going to think about how to solve this problem. It's a conjurer and 2 warriors, and I'm a little bit scared because they move fast, they can jump behind you and deal a lot of damage. So I look at our evocables and I think maybe it's time to use the Wand of Charming here. So we got pretty good chances. So we charm the conjurer, which is nice, and then we're also going to try and charm one of the warriors to make it a very unfair battle. One of them has a kite shield of protection, I noticed, and so it'd be nice to liberate them of that and use that for ourselves. So the charm play seems to work out pretty well. Both of the charm Tengu are on pretty low HP at this point, so I'm just going to betray them. And yeah, okay, so now we betray the conjurer, and they all die. So that that worked out pretty well. We're going to equip that Kite Shield of Protection, and we're going to see how it affects our spellcasting chances. It seems like we're still pretty good, so we're going to drop that Buckler, and we're very happy for the shield and AC boost. We're going to get our shield skill up to 10 so that it doesn't affect our spellcasting too much. We'll focus on that for now. We find an orange crystal statue here. We think about taking it on because it's guarding an amulet, and I'd like to upgrade our amulet. Even though the Amulet of Regeneration is pretty good for us, it'd still be nice to see what that is because it's a rand art. Could be a lot better. So it's very resistant to fire, immune to poison, and so my idea is to come up and starburst it, and that's not going all that well. But then I remember if I scorch it, it'll lower its fire resistance, and that really does the trick. So the amulet, unfortunately, it's an amulet of the Guardian Spirit, which does nothing for us, with a little bit of stat boost to strength and dex. We don't really care about it all that much, so we'll just drop it on the floor. Alright, we find a lone Tengu warrior here who isn't too much of a problem for us. And then before you know it, we're done with the floor and on to the next one. We find a Cyclops and then we see a Fire Elemental, and this combination of Elementals and Hellhounds means that Azrael is nearby. Azrael may be a problem for us because of his high resistance to fire, so we think about poisoning him and then realize that he's resistant to poison. He's not immune to it, but he's resistant, so we think about our other options here. I'm not really seeing much in our spell list that's going to help, so let's take a look at our wands. So I think we're going to use the Wand of Light here, and that blinds him, which is pretty great. And then I think now we just want to deal some damage, so let's use Wand of Ice Blast. It should be pretty effective against him. His health is getting pretty low, but so is our ancestor, so we'll hit it with an Idealize, and then the Lightning Spire takes out Azrael. So now it's just a matter of cleaning up these fire elementals, and there we go. That's a unique kill right there. We find a group of ugly things. These ones are fire resistant, which is kind of annoying, but hopefully they change to a different color as we fight them. So we'll put down our Lightning Spire, and we'll let our ancestor go in, and luckily our ancestor is equipped with an axe, so that's going to allow them to have cleaving attacks that hit all surrounding foes. It looks like we took care of those ugly things, but it looks like there's some more up to the northeast here, and some orcs, and that's an orc knight right there, which is kind of a problem. We put down Lightning Spire up, and then we decide to reposition the Lightning Spire because it's just in a bad place after we cast. We go for an Inner Flame play here because of this choke point. It seems like some flame clouds in this choke point would do a lot of work here. And so unfortunately, the one that we interflamed ran up to us, so let's try and get interflame on as many things as possible over there. You can think of it kind of as a build your own scroll of immolation. It's being very mana efficient for us because we just need to cast it once and then the enemy is interflamed and they will deal damage to when they explode. We got some orc zombies and we see a hog, which means that Kirk is around. So our hog zombie comes towards us, and then now we have to deal with Kirk, or Kirky, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. We tried to interflame her for a couple of tries, but she keeps resisting, so we abandoned that idea. And this seems kind of bad, because they're right on our tail. So I summoned my Lightning Spire again, and luckily the hog zombies are getting in between Kirk and I, so it's just a matter of scorching a couple of times and she's dead. So, our shields is now 10, so now we need to enable something else to train. Let's think about getting more shields. Let's get shields to 12. Now that we're wearing a kite shield, we're going to need a little bit higher shield skill. We find a fire dragon, which is kind of scary here. This means that we have the dragon entrance the depths. So there's probably also an ice dragon around here somewhere. I think we're powerful enough to take it on though. So we put down our lightning spire, surround it with our allies, and then it goes down. So we got to be careful of the ice dragon that's no doubt around the area, but most likely the ice dragon is over there to the left where you see the stone walls. And I was wrong. This actually isn't the dragon entrance. It just looks like there's some regular monsters here. We start fighting these monsters, and then Nessus is going to show up. Nessus is kind of scary because Nessus can deal a lot of damage from far away. We're going to interflame the Pyromancer, and then what we're going to do here is use Transference to get Nessus next to this Pyromancer that's about to explode. And so now we just need to kill the Pyromancer, and then that should take out Nessus. So oh man, he blinked away before he could get in the explosion. So, but now he's poisoned, and he's blinking around. There's a Deep Troll Earth Mage up there, but I'm not too worried about it. So, since Nessus is next to me, I can hit both him and the Earth Mage with Starburst, and so we do so. And now there's a Hydra to the south, but this shouldn't be too big of a deal for us. We do Lightning Spire, and the Hydra is dead. So that could have been bad, but we survived it. We see a Phantom Mirror in the shop here. There's a lot of experience evocables in shops this game. Find a Centaur Warrior, Lightning Spire, Scorch. They get they do the trick. We find a Ring of Protection from Fire. Not all that useful for us. We've already got plenty of fire resistance, so we don't really need it. There's the entrance to depths. We won't be going there for a while. And we find a Staff of Earth. It's not really all that useful for us, since we probably won't be casting Earth spells. And we found a Shapeshifter that we quickly kill. And there's a Basilisk. I'm not worried about the Basilisk. There's been a lot of boulder beetles this game. Slime creatures. And just like that, we're done with the dungeon. Dungeon floor 15, done. And it's at this point in the game where we have to start going for runes. We've got Snake Pit in our game, and I think that's where we go next. Snake Pit is going to be relatively easy, I think, for me. The biggest threats in Snake Pit are poison, which we are immune to, and the fire from the salamander tyrants, which we are not immune to, but we have plenty of fire resistance. The worst thing that can happen to us in Snake Pit is probably getting surrounded by a guardian serpent, blinking its allies around us and then getting constricted, because our defenses are not that great. So being surrounded and constricted at the same time would be an almost certain death sentence for us. So we're going to try and avoid that as much as possible, but we should be able to get through Snake Pit relatively easily, I think. Let's hope that I'm not going to eat my words, but let us get down in there to them snake pits. This branch contains the Serpentine Rune of Sot, which I hope is going to be our first rune. We identify brand weapon, and we decide to clean up our inventory a little bit, drop some scrolls that we're not going to use, like enchant weapon, brand weapon, and we also drop a ring of fire that we're not going to use. We kill a black mamba. We found another store. This one's got Gale's Gravitambrine in it, which is really cool. Some boots we can't use, and potions of healing, enchant armor. Identify. It's a good shop, and we'll be coming back here, I think. We find a salamander. It's not going to be that big of a problem for us, but soon enough, some other Nagas are joining the battle. We've got mana vipers now, And something I forgot to mention in the intro section to this branch is that we don't really need to worry about mana vipers all that much. Normally, as a spellcaster, you would need to worry about mana vipers, but they can't drain our mana because we have no mana. So it's nice to be immune to that. They, of course, can still deal damage to me, but it's not quite as devastating as losing your mana pool. I think probably the biggest threat for us is going to be the marksman. And this is another threat that we don't really have to worry about too much is shock serpents. We have resistance to electricity, both with the air staff and our chest piece, so we don't need to worry too much about shock serpents, and that means that there's a lot of stuff that we just don't need to worry about here. Just taking regular old damage is probably going to be the biggest problem for us. So a big problem for us right now is that we just got marked. We step on an exploration trap, and so I try to retreat, and I find that there's this black mamba chasing me. So we take down the black mamba, and then we notice that the terrain is starting to be broken. And I think, am I seeing things? And no, I'm not seeing things. Something's breaking the terrain, and it's Jorgrun. Jorgrun is breaking the terrain and he's coming after us. So that's not too bad. We might be able to deal with Jorgrun on his own. So we poison him and he's dealing some good damage to us. We're at about half HP right now, and we see Izul as well to the northwest. So this is definitely a Scroll of Telly situation. We use transference to try to get Jorgrun away from us, but it doesn't really work all that well. So we're just hoping for a good telly here, and we're hoping for it to happen soon, because as soon as Izul gets closer to us, things are going to get really bad. Jorgrun is the real big threat here, though. Izul does poison magic, which we are pretty much immune to. So, but Jorgrun can deal a lot of damage with his earth spells. So we tellied, but not very far, and as we're recovering HP, Jorgrun tracks us down. He busts down through the wall. So he's by himself, so I decided to just starburst him down, and we got some good rolls, and we killed him in 2 starbursts. And we resurrected him as a zombie, which is pretty cool. So we've got our Jorgrun the dwarf zombie with us now. So I'm really only scared of getting surrounded here, and I'm scared of the marksman as well. If you get a group of marksmen, they can deal a lot of damage, and especially there is a unique. I should look this up. There's a unique marksman uh, Naga in the snake pits that you can find. I'd be terrified of him. So here's Izul. We just starburst her down, and we get a level up. We get the spell Haunt. I've never used this spell before, but it seems pretty powerful. Calls wraiths and ghosts to haunt the caster's target. They will only attack the creature they are haunting and will dissipate quickly after the target dies. The number of specters summoned increases with spell power. So we need to train some spellcasting to get this online, but it's our level 7 spell. It's our most powerful spell that we know right now. So we're going to try and get it castable as soon as possible, and I guess we're just going to have to use it. I'm not sure how useful it will be, but we're going to give it a try and see what it can do. Alright, that was fun. Let's go downstairs. Sorry, I was just being dramatic. This isn't really as bad as it seems. For a lot of characters, this might be a bad situation. We could just go back up the stairs, and I think we would go up without any trouble. I don't think anybody would follow us up because the Naga and the Salamander that are adjacent to us are asleep, so I don't think they'd follow us up unless they woke up one turn and then followed us up. But even if one of them followed us up, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. There's a Guardian Serpent, which is nasty. I think instead of going upstairs, and here's my thought process here, is that you see how there's another staircase to the west of us? We may just end up going down. Like, if we try a different staircase, we may just end up going down that staircase, and at that point, all of these enemies will be awake and waiting for us. So that could actually be worse than if we just fought them right now. So I think we do a little bit of starbursting here because we can use starburst to hit the Guardian Serpent. It's in perfect position for us to do that. We can hit 4 Nagas with the starburst, and the Salamanders obviously won't take as much damage from the starburst, but I'm not really all that worried about the Salamanders. So let's kill the Nagas and the Guardian Serpent at least, and then we can Stair Dance if we need to. So let's try and see what we can do here. Let's let it play. All right, so let's do some Starbursts. We managed to kill the Guardian Serpent and just need to kill a couple more of these snakes. Okay, we've killed pretty much everything we wanted to, so let's go upstairs and pull these guys with us, and let's use our new spell, Haunt. Wow, that summoned a lot of wraiths. Wow, that seems pretty good. Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, we have to keep doing that. So we go back downstairs, and we are just going to start working on these remaining Nagas and Salamanders, and before you know it, we are actually through that situation. It wasn't as bad, see? Alright, so let's pick up the stuff on the floor, and we see a ring and a scroll of acquirement. Wow, okay. Well, that's pretty good. Let's open it up and see what's inside. We have Swamp Dragon Scales, we won't be wearing those, Manual of Invocations, Ring of Ice, and some gold pieces. So it's kind of between the manual and the gold pieces. And I think we're actually going to go with the gold because we have so much stuff to spend gold on. I don't really think, although the manual would be very nice, there's a lot of experience evocables that we can buy in the shops, in various shops in the dungeon. So I think that the money was the right choice here. An argument could be made for the manual, but I think I'm happy with the money for now. We're gonna use our brand new spell Haunt, and we're going to try and kill these guys. Haunt seems to be doing pretty well. I like how it just instantly summons a ton of stuff surrounding your enemy. That seems really good. It's kind of like a Dragon Call that's level 7, and you can target it, which is cool. I mean, Dragon Call works on everything, but Dragon Call can be pretty mana expensive, and you get like one dragon per thing on the screen. Whereas Haunt, it looks like you use it on something, and then there's just a bunch of wraiths and stuff that spawn next to it. So right here, this kind of sucks. Our ancestor dies, and so what we do is we pull all these snakes and nagas and we pull them into this hallway, and then they're on either side of us, which would normally be a problem for a lot of characters, but Starburst hits in both directions. So using Starburst really gets us out of this tough spot, and before long, our ancestor's back, we're at full health. We find a scroll of enchant armor, which is going to be good. And then there's Vashnia. That's that unique I was thinking of, the one that has a really nasty ranged attack. So this could be pretty spicy. We're going to use Transference to get Vashnia up next to us, and then we're going to use Haunt. And hopefully the combination of them not being able to use the ranged attacks on me and getting surrounded by uh, hopefully specters that will, I'm sorry, wraiths that will slow. That's something I like about wraiths, especially having them on your side, is that they can slow your enemies. I use Inner Flame on Vashnia, and I start to take a lot of damage here, so it's time to pull away, and Vashnia pulls out their ranged weapon and starts hitting us. And yeah, we have to telly away. There's really no other way around it. We would have died there. And so unfortunately we're next to this anaconda, and we have to use Starburst with our little remaining HP to try and kill it. And we're still, unfortunately, drawing the ire of our enemies, and it seems that we've gotten away for now. So we'll need to find a better situation to fight Vashnia in, because that situation was definitely not it. So there's Vashnia back again, but Vashnia is alone this time and surrounded by phantoms and specters, phantasmal warriors. They're doing a good job killing them, but we're going to continue to just keep surrounding Vashnia with all these cool undead guys. And before you know it, yeah, and Vashni is slowed now, and we're going to use Starburst to try and get Vashnia killed. And there we go. There's the Vashnia kill. We just have a couple of sharpshooter bodyguards to take out, but luckily we have our bodyguard. We have the Ancestor here to help protect us. We're going to idealize our Ancestor so that they don't die, earning ourselves another low HP warning counter there. But it's well worth it. We find a Randart ring. It is not good at all. It's going to make us even more vulnerable to cold. So I guess we'll hang on to it if we really need resistance to corrosion, but only under certainly desperate situations will we put that thing on. It'll surely make it so that we die to the first enemy that does ice damage that we find. So dangerous ring, not going to put it on. Okay, time to go down to Snake 3. There's an interdimensional caravan on this floor, so we're going to read a scroll of revelation because we'd like to go find out where that is. So let's see. It seems to be in the southwestern corner, and I don't see us. I think we're at the closest staircase to it, so we're just going to try and walk over there. Now, we only have a limited amount of turns to get there, so we're going to try and make a beeline to it. We get interrupted by this Naga mage, and we kill it, and we are going to continue along carefully, trying not to pull too many monsters on the way over there, because that would just be a waste of turns to fight them. Alright, so we find the interdimensional caravan. Let's go inside and see what's in the shops. Useless. Wow, Ring of the Octopus King. That seems pretty good. I think we're going to think about buying that. So we'll put it on the shopping list for now, and then we'll see what else is in the caravan. I don't think that Randar Amulet's going to be very useful for us. I just don't see how Amulet of Faith is going to be that useful. We're probably going to leave with the Scrolls of Enchant Armor and the Scrolls of Telly, and maybe the Scrolls of Butterfly as well, and then we have another weapon shop that we don't care about. So where should we spend our money? I know we're saving it for things, but we can't ever get the stuff from this caravan. We can't go back here. So let's grab a couple of things. We're going to get the Ring of the Octopus King. That's probably all we'll get from this shop. And let's put that on. I think it's better than a Ring of Protection, generally. That first property, our core, that's a random property, but the other ones are set. And our core is not too bad. So let's think about what else we want from here. I think we definitely want those Scrolls of Telly. Yeah, we'll grab those for sure. And I think maybe yeah, we're going to get those other Scrolls, Butterfly and Enchant Armor. And with that, I think we are done with the caravan. We made out pretty well with that ring. I think that ring, we'll probably put it on for the rest of the game. Might be the ring that we have on at the end of the game if we live long enough. I think if we die or we make it out, we will be wearing that ring during one of those two things. Alright, that's enough of that. We read a Scroll of Identify and we find Potion of Ambrosia. And we just kill a couple of snakes here. No big deal. And then we find this absolute unit of a falchion. It has plus 12 enchantment, electricity, and willpower plus plus. So we run away for a second, but then we think, you know what, let's pick this thing up. This will basically be a third ring slot for us. I know a lot of people like to meme that casters have 3 ring slots. And yeah, with this Randar, if we ever need the benefit of 2 rings of willpower on demand, we can just switch to this falchion. So this is great to have in the inventory. It'll make us nigh immune to banishment and hexes, and so we're very happy to have it. Let's look into this door, and we find a bunch of Nagas, Guardian Serpent, Lots of stuff that we don't really have much trouble killing. Okay, down to the last floor of Snake Pit. This is the floor that holds the rune, and we see a Nagaraja, which is a dangerous opponent. The scariest thing they can do to you is that they can make it so that you can't teleport, which means that that's one escape tool that you can't use. It's arguably the best escape tool. But we kill it pretty easily using Haunt, which is quickly becoming my new favorite spell. We kill this Mana Viper with Starburst, and I have to say that I am enjoying this Haunt spell a lot for aforementioned reasons. It's nice to be able to surround a foe with these specters and phantoms and stuff that will slow it down. That's pretty cool that it slows it down. You're basically like disabling an opponent, um, which is very nice. So, what I wanted to say is that I'm really enjoying this Djinn. Playing Djinn has been a lot more fun than I thought it would be, and I have to say that my two favorite species are probably Demon Spawn and Draconian, and that's because with those species you don't know exactly how your character is going to develop because of as a Draconian you don't get to choose your color. You evolve into it, and then it basically forces you to adapt to what the game throws at you in that way. Because if you become like a red draconian, then you want to start thinking about casting fire spells. Black, you want to cast electricity spells, air magic, and in that way, it's kind of random. And I really enjoy randomness, and that's probably the reason that I enjoy Crawl is because of how random this game is. It's just layers and layers of randomness. And Demon Spawn is nice because with Demon Spawns, you get your random mutations, and that can completely shape the way that your character plays. You can get some very powerful ones, and you can also get some very weak ones. But the thing is, that most of them are, pretty much all of them are powerful in their own right, if you build around them. And so I like to play Demon Spawn with an open mind, essentially, that I'm going to build into my mutations. And that's such a fun way to play Demon Spawn, and you can definitely get some powerful runs and unique runs going when you play Demon Spawn that way. So we found the Rune Vault, I think, at least the entrance to the Rune Vault, because of how many enemies there are here. And we're using a combination of Haunt, and we've also casted Animate Dead. So we just got surrounded. We got surrounded by Guardian Serpent, and the Salamander Tyrant created lava around us. And so that was kind of nasty, but luckily we got out of it. And it looks like we've got the zombie army going here. So lots of undead around. This is bad now. So we're very resistant to fire, but the fact that the tyrant they can actually deal a lot of damage if you're standing next to the lava. So you don't want to be doing that. So I'm oh, I just get a bad miscast on Haunt, which summons a nameless horror, which is bad, very bad. So we're down to 30 HP, and we're gonna read Telly Scroll. Luckily, a Nagaranja did not minus Telly us, and we're able to get out with 2 HP. So wow, that was kind of scary. But luckily we killed a lot of those enemies, so the next time we encounter that vault, it'll be severely weakened, and we'll be able to hopefully take care of that vault without much trouble. So we're gonna try and slowly make our way over back to that vault because that's where the rune is, and we need that rune. We just need it. At this point, enemies just start to slowly trickle towards us here, and we keep making noise, so they're coming at us one by one. We have our Animate Dead going, so every time one comes up to us, I just cast Haunt on it. It gets surrounded by phantoms, which then kill it and turn it into a zombie. And so we're collecting Naga zombies right now, and Salamander Warrior zombies, and all kinds of good stuff. So we are full Necromancer right now, and it's feeling good. So I think we're gonna try and take our zombie army back to that rune vault eventually, and with all of these allies here, it'll go pretty well, I think. And it seems that Haunt is way more powerful than I thought at first. It is really getting the job done here. And we just leveled up, which is good. We don't really get anything for that level other than our ancestor seems to have powered up somehow. So we'll make our way back over to that vault eventually, but I'd like to clear out the rest of the level before we go there, just so that we don't get any nasty surprises sneaking up from behind us. It seems that even though we wanted to be a fire elementalist, we have sort of transitioned into a necromancer slash summons build. Although we're not using anything that's really strictly the summoning school other than summon lightning spire, it's all necromancy. And the cool thing about Djinn is that, and I didn't mention this earlier, but you get these spells randomly, but they're always going to be pretty castable because you train all the schools at the same time. So even though I didn't have any interest in casting necromancy spells, we were still training necromancy, and therefore all of these necromancy spells are castable for us. And I think Haunt is so powerful, we may just be, once we can get it to 1%, we can really just, and we're kind of already doing it, just open up every combat with a Haunt or two. It seems to really be doing a lot of good work here. So you can see all these enemies, every time we see one, we just cast Haunt on it twice, and that's enough to just take it down. Yeah, this is madness. I had no idea this spell existed before this particular game, and I was definitely missing out because this is insane. Like I said, it's kind of like casting a mini Dragon Call, and Dragon Call is one of my all-time favorite spells in Crawl. Um, so this is quickly becoming one of my second favorite spells. Although I want to say um, maybe MCC is my second favorite spell, or actually MCC might be my top favorite spell because MCC is really fun. All right, and it's at this point that I think it's finally time for us to take on the Rune Vault, even though we've killed probably over half of what was in there. Although there is this one room that I'd like to check just to make sure there's no enemies hiding in there. If there are, then they might come and attack us while we're fighting the Rune Vault, and that could be pretty bad. And so let's check out what's up here. Nothing. It's nothing. Okay. There's our nameless horror from earlier. I guess it never got killed, but we got it killed now. A tower shield of cold resistance on the ground. That's pretty good. I think we'll come back for that later. I don't know that we can really cast spells in a tower shield right now, but having resistance, especially cold resistance, on the tower shield slot would be very good. And there we go. We pick up the rune, the serpentine rune, or whatever it's called. Um, we got it. So that's what we came here for. And we managed to survive the snake pits. And like I thought, it wasn't that bad. You know, we only went down to low HP a couple of times, and with that, it's time for us to move on to our next rune branch. Willpower is pretty good in Shoals, which is going to be our next rune branch, so we switch to the Falchion with the willpower bonus on it. And here's a look at our stats before we head into Shoals. The Shoals is where we're going to be getting our second rune. It's populated by a lot of swarming, flying, and swimming creatures. You have merfolk, you have satyrs, water nymphs, you have harpies, wind drakes, all kinds of bad things, snapping turtles and such. We're naturally flying, so we're not going to be taking any penalties from being in water, so at least we have that covered. The merfolk, the sirens, the merfolk avatar, they all have willpower checks. Basically, they can hex you, mesmerize you, stuff like that. So you really want to have a high willpower when you're coming in here because being mesmerized by a siren is a pretty bad thing in Shoals because it'll lead you into disaster. you basically won't be able to move away from the siren, which means you won't be able to make an escape. So having high willpower here is going to be pretty good. Although the fawns have an ability that can strip your willpower, so even with the amount of willpower that we have right now, thanks to our falchion, we could still easily get mesmerized. So we'll have to rely on our destructive magic to get us out of those situations. Overall, I'm not too scared of Shoals. I think that there may be a couple of dangerous situations here and there, but I think that we are well equipped to deal with this branch, and so let's go in there and see what we can find. And Merfolk with the Trident of Distortion right away, but we don't get banished to the Shadow Realm, so that's good. And it's at this point that we decide to Quiver Haunt. We have it at 3%, so... And basically our strategy here is just to spam Haunt until things die. Obviously, casting Haunt over and over again is not going to be as... it's going to have diminishing returns because an enemy can only get surrounded by 8 creatures. So it seems like at this spell power, 2 times is about the maximum amount that an enemy can get surrounded by. Meaning, what I mean by that is that you cast it twice and then they're fully surrounded, and so getting more undead specters and wraiths isn't really going to help because the thing about haunt is that as soon as the primary target dies, those your undead will quickly vanish, and so casting it that many times on a single target isn't really that helpful. We get marked here, and my strategy for this is going to be to walk out into the ocean and hope that not much comes out here to meet us. Obviously, everything is coming towards us right now, but only the things that can fly and swim, which unfortunately is almost everything in Shoals, but our strategy works out pretty well. We haunt things as they come to us, and it doesn't pose that big of a problem for us. And we're fighting a Manticore and a Windrake here, and things get a little scary, but we are able to take them down. Windrakes are pretty bad, especially if you're relying on being on top of a staircase. A Windrake can easily push you off. So they should be treated with the amount of respect that any enemy that can move you, the amount of respect that you would treat them with, that's the amount of respect you should give a Windrake. Possibly more, because they deal irresistible damage, sort of like Airstrike does. So that's pretty bad. We find a Kraken, and I think we're just going to haunt the Kraken, and the haunting seems to be going pretty well. The Kraken needed to call an exorcist, but he just didn't have a phone on him, unfortunately. All those tentacles, but no phone. So, and with that, we finish up Shoals 1. Let's head down into Shoals 2. We see a Sea Snake and a Windrake. That rhymed. And it's at this point that there's another Windrake, but it hasn't woken up yet. And the Windrake keeps pushing us into other enemies here, and so things are getting kind of nasty. So we're going to go upstairs and get our health back, and then choose a different staircase to go down, because there's no reason for us to engage in that anymore. We find another Staff of Air, and we continue to haunt the hell out of Shoals 2. We are just creating paranormal disasters everywhere we go. Somebody call the Vatican because it is getting pretty spooky in here. We find a potion of heal wounds. It appears that we didn't have one with us at the time. We must have used them all. So let's drop a ring of fire, and yeah, I dropped the ring of fire into the water, so it's gone forever. So actually, no, it's not. It's right there. Why did it say that I heard a splash? I don't know. I guess it's because the tide was retreating. So we find Nicola right here, which is kind of scary, but we do have resistance to electricity, so it's not that bad. We surround him with phantoms and we scorch him, and he is no more. He's got a Cloak of Preservation on, which I think, if I remember correctly, we currently don't have a cloak on right now. Do we? No cloak. So let's put on that Cloak of Preservation. It's at least 1 AC, and it'll give us resistance to corrosion, but which we already had with the Ring of the Octopus King. But hey, 1 AC is better than nothing, right? And it'll, if we ever need to take that ring off, we'll still have resistance to corrosion. We find another Kraken, so we'll haunt this one too, and it tries to come towards us, but now it's slowed, and there just isn't much helping it. And I kind of wish that we had gotten a Kraken zombie there, because that would have been really funny to have a Kraken zombie following around us around. I hope that you can make um, Kraken zombies. And now we're going to train pretty much, we're just going to train invocations, evocations, armor, dodging. We're going to train all that stuff up to 10. Yeah, get ourselves a little bit more rounded as a character, and that should be pretty good for us. We find a merfolk to haunt. Wrong place, wrong time, merfolk. And we're pretty much just cleaning up this floor at this point. We've dealt with all the major threats. There were 2 Krakens on this floor, which could be kind of scary, but not for us. We have a very powerful spell here that we now have down to 1% failure chance. So this is our bread and butter for now. It's our highest level spell. It's very powerful. It has an immediate, I would say an immediate effect. Although, as you can see, this Merfolk Impaler just walked right past all of our specters, and he did quite a bit of damage to us. So that's one drawback that this spell has, is that if an enemy wants to move towards you, there's a chance that it's not going to spawn a ghost in front of it, and so it can just continue to make its way towards you. So that is a drawback, um, but hopefully in the future we'll get some stronger spells to help shore up those drawbacks, and I think that our character's headed in a pretty good direction right now. We have plenty of resources, and we just ID'd Scrolls of Magic, which can do nothing for us, so I think we're going to drop those right now. Yeah, they're grayed out, they're useless. So we can have more important things in the inventory than that. So yes, that's the floor, and so we're on to Shoals 3 now. Oh, nope, we gotta kill this Windrake. Yep, yep, there's a Windrake. We gotta kill it. Okay, there, it's dead. So now we can go down to the next floor. And we're surrounded by harpies. We're going to use Starburst here, because it's going to be a lot quicker than summoning ghosts. And it seems like there's a lot of stuff coming to find us now. So let's see. We just got marked. So a lot of stuff is going to be coming for us. But let's just take this opportunity to kill as many things as possible, clear out the floor a little bit. So we're using Haunt, and we're just trying to get as many ghosts out as possible. We're also getting some zombies here with our Animate Dead spell, and we're killing everything pretty nicely. Our health is going down, but that's only because we're casting spells. We've just been casting a lot of Haunts, and it is a 7th level spell, so that's 7 HP every time. And it's at this point that the enemies are starting to reach us, so we got to think about if we want to retreat here. And yeah, we get a low hit point warning, but that was, I think, from spell casting. And so we try and make it upstairs, and we do. That was a little scary, and we just got a new spell. We got Rime Blight. Rime Blight. Yeah, Rime Blight. So that's a new spell. It's a necromancy spell, and it's an ice spell. So we've been kind of looking for an ice spell. And I've never casted this spell before, so we're going to take a look at it and see what it can do for us. It afflicts a creature with magical plague that slowly freezes them from the inside out. Victims take AC, ignoring cold damage each turn, and as the disease progresses, shards of crystalline ice may erupt violently from their body, damaging nearby enemies and even spreading the affliction to others. So it seems like, yeah, it's like a damage over time that can um, that can explode and spread. So we'll see if we can get some use out of it. We'll see if it's good or not. Hopefully it's good. It's a spell I've never cast before, but Haunt was a spell that I'd never cast before, and it turned out really well. So we'll see if we have some opportunities to use Rime Blight. The damage ignores AC, which is pretty cool. So if there's a foe with a lot of HP, or a high AC, we can use Rime Blight. So we're going to try Rime Blight for the first time on this Merfolk Impaler. It seems to give him like a little blue skull, and he seems to be exploding and taking damage. Okay, he just turned into a pillar of ice, a pillar of rime. That's pretty cool. So that's how that works. And I think we'll be casting that more. I've heard this spell is not all that powerful, but I don't know how reliable that information is. But we're going to see for ourselves here. We're going to try it out. It looks like our ancestor is now powerful enough to have haste. So our ancestor can cast haste on itself, which is great. It's going to double its action speed, and meaning that it can move faster and attack faster. And that's going to mean that it's going to be a real powerhouse, especially if we cast Idealize on it. It'll be doing double damage twice as fast. So that's pretty insane. So really enjoying being a worshiper of Hep right now. Alright, so we have a Merfolk avatar, and they're casting this spell on us that has these water spirit, drowned souls that attack us. And as you can see, that put us on low HP. So we're going to try and get away from it because it seems to be able to attack us off screen with that, and we really don't appreciate that. So we're going to regen some HP, and there she is. There's the Merfolk avatar. Um, yeah, she's going to get Rime Blighted and Haunted, and she's going to pay for what she did. So, low HP warning, but we were still, I believe, in control of that situation, and so we're going to continue to explore the rest of this floor. Haunting manticores, trying to Rime Blight them, but not being close enough, and then there we go. Rime Blight on the manticore. We're still figuring the spell out. It seems to do pretty good damage. I wish the range was further, and it seems kind of busted that Haunt's range is your full vision range, because that's really good. That is really good. That makes it like almost as powerful as Dragon's Call, in my opinion. For at least for single targets. Dragon's Call is nice that it can summon dragons next to everything on the screen, and that's why it's a 9th level spell. Um, but I think Haunt is just, and look, our willpower just got stripped, got divided in half by a fawn, and so we're vulnerable to hexes right now. Like this Merfolk Siren could mesmerize us, but she did not. And yeah, this is kind of how the way things are going right now. Things pop up on the edge of my screen, I haunt them, they get surrounded, and they die. And so this Merfolk Javelineer is pretty annoying. He's going to be hitting us at range with his javelins, and we're taking a lot of damage here because we're taking a lot of ranged hits, and we're also casting spells. That's like a double whammy situation where we're losing HP by our own volition and by the enemies attacking us, throwing boomerangs at us and javelins and using slings on us. And so we're, switching back and forth between Haunt and Rime Blight, and that actually that gets us through that encounter pretty well. There's another Kraken. The Kraken are now yellow threat level, so the Kraken is slowed, and now I've Rime Blighted it, and it's all over for this Kraken. Yep, rip in peace, Kraken. Um, we get another potion of haste, which is pretty good. I have a feeling those will come in handy later. And it's at this point that we've pretty much fully explored this floor, and so it's time for us to go to Shoals 4. This is the floor that has the rune. This is kind of scary what's going on here. There's a lot of stuff on screen right now, and there's just not enough space for us to... I mean, we're going to try to haunt, but there's not a lot of space for our specters to come in. So we're going to rely on Rime Blight here to explode and spread all over the place. And it's doing a decent job. It seems to be spreading around and dealing lots of ice damage, and the explosions seem to be taking everybody out. We've also got Animate Dead on to create zombies out of these merfolk and fawns and such, and it seems to be going pretty well. The zombies are now taking out the remaining enemies, but now there's a Windrake, which is a problem, because the Windrake will be able to knock us off our safety staircase here, but the Windrake is dead. So nothing to worry about anymore. I'd say that we handled that situation pretty well. So the enemies are still coming, and I don't mind because I still have my reap status going. So anything I kill that's living is just going to be raised as a zombie, which is going to help us take down the rest of the floor. And I feel like I'm almost marked at this point because look at all these enemies that just keep coming up. And look at this absolute army of zombies that we have right now. It is such a beautiful thing to see. So we're going to use this zombie army to explore the rest of the floor. Unfortunately, these zombies are all going to be, they're not going to be able to swim unless the merfolk zombies can swim. I honestly don't know whether zombies retain the aquatic tag or not, but maybe we'll find out this game. So we have to be kind of careful on this floor because there's going to be these, like this right here, this little circular room is going to contain a lot of nasty enemies probably. So let's kill this Kraken first of all, and it looks like the merfolk zombies do retain aquatic, and so, but you could see some of our zombies not quite able to keep up with us as we move through the water. So we've got a mix of swimming zombies and non-swimming zombies. But it's not a problem because they'll eventually catch up to us. And so we're going to take our zombie army and we're just going to explore around, clearing out enemies where we can. And we're not going to touch these little circular vaults until we're ready to do so, or until monsters start pouring out of them because they hear the destruction happening outside. We're not in any hurry to get into a nasty encounter unless it's on our terms. So I'm not actually super familiar with this particular Shoals for layout. I feel like I get the one with the coral vaults all the time, and so we've just opened a door, and this is so weird. There's a cherub over there. So we found some like Shining One Shoals 4, and it's kind of cool, but I'm a little worried. Holy enemies can be kind of it can be kind of jarring to fight a holy enemy because they have a completely different set of skills, resistances, abilities, and etc. than you're typically used to when you're playing Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, and it's why it can be kind of jarring to fight them, and especially powerful ones like Devas and stuff. But it's just a cherub, so we'll let our summons do most of the work here. We have an absolute wall of zombies around us, and we're sending out phantoms and specters to fight enemies at range, and so things are going pretty well for us. We're simply taking it slow here, trying not to cast too much, letting the summons do the work. We take damage whenever we cast, so we want to try to not do that if we can. And now there's an angel on the screen, which is pretty scary. He's got a whip, and he has decided that it's time for us to die. And so he's coming straight for us. We're going to Rhyme Blight him, because that's going to go straight through his AC, and it seems to take him down. So you just saw a cut from the vault from the north, and then now we're suddenly at the vault at the south. It looks like I missed recording the rest of that vault. We had killed everything up there, and that was the vault up there to the northeast. That one was the one that had the rune in it. So we did find the rune up there, and we're just going to clear out the rest of these vaults. Just even though we already have the rune, we're just going to see what else is in here, because there could be some good loot. So we're going to be careful though because we don't have our much of our zombies anymore. We see a cherub, we got a merfolk javelineer, and we got our target skills up to 10. And so now we got to think about what else we want to train. I'm thinking for now we're just going to start training spell casting because when we get those level 8 and 9 spells, we want to be able to cast them. So we're going to idealize our ancestor here. Now that they're hasted and doing double damage, that means they're attacking twice as fast, dealing twice as much damage. So they're really going to cleave through these enemies like a hot knife through butter. So yeah, there we go. We find this Ring of the Heavens Randart, which is a strict upgrade to our Ring of Sea Invisible. So what we're going to do is drop the Ring of Sea Invisible because this is basically just a Ring of Sea Invisible Plus. Has no downsides. So we'll carry that with us, and if we need to see Invisible, then we'll equip it. But that's it. Oh, and we step on something really cool. We step on some Pearl Dragon Scales. Apparently somebody was wearing those in here. And that's a very rare piece of equipment that we just found because Pearl Dragons are very rare, especially in a 3 rune game. And I guess you have to find them in these like holy themed vaults if you are even going to get them in a 3 rune game. Either that or the Abyss. And we're certainly not going in there, at least not willingly. We're definitely not going to go there for our 3rd rune. So we got to think about this because even though they have really good armor rating for their encumbrance, and that's what makes them good caster armor, they still have an encumbrance rating of 10, and so they're going to affect our spellcasting chances by a lot. So we need to think about: are we going to switch to them, or are we going to keep our troll leather armor on? And I think the plan is that we eventually want to wear those Pearl Dragon scales, but for now, I think it would be too much of a spellcasting hit to put on the Pearl Dragon scales. We're going to put them on anyway just to see what we're working with for spellcasting chances. So let's make some room in our inventory, and then let's put them on and see how they affect our spellcasting. So it looks like Haunt's at 9% here. Yeah, Haunt's at 9%, and we can't deal with that because we're basically using Haunt for every encounter, and so that means 9 out of 100 times we're going to miscast it. So we're going to switch back to the Troll Leather Armor for now, and then we're going to be training our spell casting so that we can cast in those. Because we're definitely going to want to use those. They give us resistance to negative energy, and they have really good AC for the encumbrance rating, and we're going to be able to enchant them up to +9, and so that's going to be a huge AC boost, and we're going to be very survivable if we can keep those on. So the plan is let's put on the Troll Leather Armor again, and we don't have a Ring of Wizardry on us. We could think about using that, but we don't. So we find this really interesting Randart staff that has 3 enhancers on it, and Conjuration, Hexes, and Fire. So this could be good for using Starburst since it's a Fire and a Conjuration, meaning it would get double the power from the enhancer. And so this staff would be a great Starburst staff. It has a good int bonus too, +5. The MP doesn't affect us. I kind of wish that the MP bonus would give you health on a Djinn, but I think that would be asking a bit too much. So fire resistance doesn't matter. Hexes, we don't have any hexes right now, I don't think. So um, this staff could be very powerful in the future if we get some good fire conjuration magic. So we're going to put it in our inventory, and now is probably not the time to use it. We're going to drop the Staff of Air for it because we already have air resistance. We're not using air spells. So we'll put on this, we'll carry the staff instead of the Staff of Air, the Reinhardt staff, and then let's go around exploring the rest of the level, and then we're going to go into that 3rd vault just to see maybe there'll be some good loot in there. If it's even half as good as the loot from that 2nd vault, then we will be very happy. We've got to be careful since we don't really have many zombies left. We have this one snapping turtle zombie with us who's on low health. We're going to try and keep him alive because he's like our pet now. And we see an alligator snapping turtle, which is a scary opponent. We're going to hope that our allies can keep him away from us because they can deal a lot of damage very fast. And he's slowed right now, so and he's dead. And so that's pretty good. And it looks like the Manticore killed our turtle zombie friend, unfortunately. Rip zombie turtle. Merfolk here, we're just going to spam hunt until it dies. The Javelineer is a, you know, kind of annoying, but we surround him with specters and ghosts, and we find a wand of charming and some spell books. So the loot was terrible, but there it is. That is both the rune branches done. So that's our first and second rune done, and now I think it's time for us to head to the vaults. And so here we are at the entrance to the vaults. I think this is where we will end this episode. If you've watched this far, then I would just like to thank you for watching. I'm still learning how to do this whole YouTube thing and making videos and stuff like that. So if you have any suggestions for things I should do differently in the future, please feel free to leave a comment. I'd be happy to take any feedback that you have. And about the way that I created this video, it's definitely not, it's not live commentary. It's done in post because I recorded it without any live commentary. So I'm doing non-live commentary, I guess you would call it. And let me know if you like all the additions and sound effects and things that I've been doing to this. I've basically just been trying stuff and seeing what works and what doesn't. And I don't know if things work or not unless you let me know. So I hope you've enjoyed the run so far, and I hope that you'll watch the next one when it comes out, which should be pretty soon. So anyways, bye-bye.